guys, it's Rachel from the Little Ring Lamb, and today I have a book review, or should I say a trilogy review, on the Crank Trilogy by Ellen Hopkins. Now in this trilogy there are 3 books. First, Crank, then we have Glass, then finally we have Fallout, the 3rd book in the trilogy. And these books are all done in verse, which is typical Ellen Hopkins style. And basically, this is a no spoilers review. And basically the first part, like the first 2 books, there'll be no spoilers. But the 3rd book, if you haven't read the first 2 books, there will be a little bit of spoilers because the 3rd book, the events that happen continue off. But the first 2 books kind of continue off each other. So I'll just tell you when there's going to be more spoilers. They're not major spoilers because I don't want to give major spoilers about them. But because I didn't really know a lot about the 3rd book going into it. So I'm just going to give you a forewarning once I get past the first 2 books reviewing it. Okay, so basically if I look down, I'm looking at my notebook, which I have by my feet so I can read it because these books are very big. But first I'm going to start reviewing Crank. Now, if you haven't watched my book reviews or just a refresher, I rate my books in 5 different categories. For the sake of the trilogy, I'm just doing 4 categories: plot, characters, I'm omitting cover, and suspense and overall. So basically with Crank, this book is about a girl named Christina, and everything's going pretty good in her life. She's doing well in school, she's never in any trouble, and then she goes to visit her dad one summer and meets the monster, as it says on the back, and she gets addicted to meth and just doing drugs in general, and her life kind of spirals out of control from there. And this book I didn't expect to like that much because I've heard really good things about Ellen Hopkins' work, but I'm not one who likes when drug use is glamorized, which this book this whole series really does not glamorize drug use, which I really like because it definitely can be a tool to kind of show awareness of how these things can really hurt somebody's individual life, which I really did enjoy because instead of glamorizing, it does show awareness. Because there's some books that do glamorize. It seems like they're glamorizing consumption of stuff like that. For example, Spectacular Now by Tim Tharp. It does glamorize in a sense, but then it doesn't. But I liked how this one, you had no wavering, you're like, oh, you're like, that's bad, she shouldn't be doing that. So I really did enjoy that, just from my view. And also, this book is just obviously the dipping your toe in the water of this crazy spiral that happens within the series. So plot, I give a 5 out of 5. This book was never, I was really wanting to read this. I picked this up, I remember, at 11 o'clock at night. And I was up almost till 1 reading it, and I just liked how fast it went through because I just been in a reading slump, so it went by really fast. And I just really enjoyed what happened. It was very interesting to see this because, yeah, I just thought it was very interesting to see how it can all unravel a whole life. Drug use can do that. Characters, I give a 5 out of 5. The characters were very interesting, but I didn't have any problems with the characters. They're not going to be my favorite characters, but I thought for Ellen Hopkins writing in verse, and you have a less of a limit, with regular writing, you have more time to really flesh out a character, but I found the characters were very fleshed out in this, so I really did enjoy that, especially considering she had less words writing in verse. Suspense, I give a 5 out of 5. This book just kept me wanting to read. I think it was the verse style that really helped that. And overall, I give it a 5 out of 5. I think it was definitely a really good read, and yeah, that's basically what I'm going to say. Also, when I'm talking about these 3, I just want to say that I like these covers better. I know I'm not doing covers, but I got to say this trilogy's covers are way better than the old ones. I just want to put that out there. And then we move on to the 2nd book, Glass, and basically Christina's way over her head and her life spiraling even more out of control than was in Crank. And I give this book all 5s as well. I thought it was very well done. I thought it was a very good sequel. It took me I think 30 pages to get into the book again because after Crank it was just, I don't know, it took me a little while to get back into it, but I didn't want to take off any points for that because I did really enjoy the book and I really enjoyed where it went. And it was longer than the first book, but it still kept my interest, and I definitely read that one again. Now this is where a bit of the spoilers are coming in, so if you haven't read the first 2 books or you don't really care, this is not a giant spoiler. It is and it isn't. It is on one respect if you don't want to know what happens to Christine's character because this does go into the future. But at the same time, I'm not going to tell you the events that happen in this book, so you have to figure it out. So if you're going after this, you can definitely come back later, and I'll just say bye to you guys, and thanks for watching. And this is kind of where the spoilers come in about what happens to Christina's life down the road. So basically, down the road, this book actually is not Christina's viewpoint, which the other 2 books are. This one is in the viewpoint of 3 of her 5 children. We have Hunter, Autumn, and Summer. Now, Autumn and Summer we've never heard of before, but Hunter was in the first 2 books. Well, he wasn't in the first book. I think she was only pregnant with him, but he was mentioned at least in the second book. So basically, this book was not my favorite of the trilogy because I really like Christina's viewpoint. I wish we would have been able to see that viewpoint. It's very interesting what happens to the family when somebody does do drugs and see how it all affects everybody, not just themselves. So the plot I give a 4 out of 5 for this book. It took me a while to get into this book because all the 3 new characters, and I was getting kind of their stories intermingled and mixed up, especially the girls, Autumn and Summer. I was getting their storylines mixed up a bit, but once I got into it, it was very good. Characters I give a 4 out of 5. The same thing again, just getting them mixed up, and I couldn't really connect with the characters right away. Suspense I give a 5 out of 5. I wanted to keep reading because I wanted to see what was going to happen because it was all leading up to this one event, and you just wanted to know what was going to happen when that happened. Overall, I give a 4.5 out of 5. I definitely read this one again, but I don't think this is really required to finish the trilogy, but Glass does leave off on a cliffhanger, so if you haven't picked up this one, I definitely would pick up this one. And basically, my favorites out of the series, I'd say it goes in order. My favorite was Crank, second favorite Glass, third favorite Fallout. And these books are kind of scary in a sense. Like, not scary like horror scary, but just scary about how lives can spiral out of control of one action. But they're so good, and I really like the awareness that they spread and the message that they spread because they not only show what happens to the singular person, but they show what happens to friends and family and how everybody's affected rather than just one perspective. And I thought it was definitely interesting having the children's perspective in the third book. But yes, I really enjoyed this trilogy. I'm very excited to read more from Ellen Hopkins in the future. I'll definitely be picking up more of her books. And I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys later.